But how close was
Yeah.
Boston to this deal? Was it like, because I think that was kind of a dark horse. I think when we heard Boston
Yeah.
come into the rumor mill, it was like, why are they out there shopping for a D-man like that in the situation they're in?
Yeah, there were 5 teams at the end of this that were part of the mix, and then it kind of came down to Vegas and Boston. I think Craig Conroy even acknowledged there were 4 or 5 teams in the mix. I was told 5. When all was said and done, it came down to Vegas and Boston. Now, again, as I mentioned, like Boston really wanted to make this happen. They felt they had the right offer in place, and it seems like it was the best offer, but again, contingent on an extension. And I talked to a couple people out of Boston after this trade happened with Vegas, and they thought that they were going to have a genuine shot at signing him, and it just didn't happen. They had the opportunity to talk to his agent, Claude Lemieux. They weren't able to figure something out, and the message back to Craig Conroy was, "Hey, we're just not going to sign with anybody at this time." So we'll see kind of what happens with Vegas. Boston certainly interested in improving their roster even further. They feel like with how things have gone with some of their talent, that they can push for the playoffs and then improve upon that next season and build off it. But this is a team that's not only looking for a top 4 guy in the back end, like a lot of teams, but they're also, like a lot of teams, looking for help up front too to kind of deepen their top 6. So I don't think Don Sweeney and company are done searching. And we'll see where they go. Do they shift in terms of forwards and go towards a very attractive piece cap wise in a Kiefer Sherwood out of Vancouver? Do they look at other assets on the back end to see what might be available in different areas and pivot from a kind of two-way type defenseman to more offensive, more defensive? They have some options that they're starting to explore. I'm curious to see what's next for the Bruins, because I don't think they were putting all their eggs in the Anderson basket. It certainly sounds like they're kind of evaluating how the market is right now.
I want to ask you about Kiefer Sherwood in a second, but just one more on the Vegas Golden Knights, because they did get the retention in this deal. They actually gained cap space with this transaction,
Yes.
Believe it or not. So I would assume Kelly McCrimmon's not going to be done. I know assets are a whole nother conversation. But if the Golden Knights continue to add, where do you think they're looking to add?
It'll be up front if they do. And I think the preference would be at the center position. Now, you're right. They did clear up cap space. They actually gained $475,000 worth of space. Now, right now, that would give them enough to take Braden McNabb off of LTIR. So they've cleared enough to make that happen and give them a little bit of extra space. So if they do anything, it's got to be very cap friendly, as much as it can be. But I think the center position would be one. Mitch Marner's playing that position right now. William Karlsson's out for the rest of the regular season. So the hope is that, either Mitch can maintain that slot and be their 2C effectively and still get number 1 power play minutes and on quarterbacking that and whatnot. Or they can find an affordable option up the middle that maybe gives Mitch a bit of a break there, because this is the first time he's played that position at the NHL level, so consistently anyway. So if Vegas goes in another direction, I think it's going to be up front, preferably at the dot. But they may not even be able to make that happen, given the fact that they just don't have any cap space right now, especially once McNabb comes off.
Okay, so now that we get our first blockbuster one here, well, other than Quinn Hughes, but now we're starting to push into it, right? What does Vancouver do here? There's talks of Conor Garland, Kiefer Sherwood, right? Kiefer Sherwood, Conor Garland are different animals, right? Because the contract and where they're at, Kiefer Sherwood having a great year, 1.5 UFA, then Garland has that contract. Are we going to start seeing the teardown come sooner in Vancouver now?
Well, I think so, yeah. And yeah, Quinn Hughes, totally different beast. I don't even put that in the same category here. You're right. This Anderson deal, coupled with the Rangers' official announcement of a retool on Friday, has gotten things percolating even more. Now, for Vancouver, I just put this out earlier this morning, not too long ago. Their initial ask for Kiefer Sherwood, the Canucks ask, was a first-round pick plus. And they were holding very firm on that up until, honestly, this weekend. So from what I've been told, talking to a few people, is that they're softening now on that ask. They're no longer demanding the first-round pick plus. They're trying to see if they can circle back with teams to see what their best offers may effectively be. Now, about a week or so ago, and I'm not sure when this offer came in, but they were presented with a second and a third round pick, and they said, no, we're not ready to do that right now. We feel we can get more. Is it 2 seconds? Are they going to revert back to a second and third? We'll have to wait and see kind of where that goes. But the fact that they eased up on the price, the initial ask, is probably going to speed things up a little bit. I think they want to make this happen sooner than later. He's going to be back on the ice in terms of game action pretty soon. It's not a significant injury in terms of long term. So they want to obviously kind of make this happen sooner than later. And I think, you touched on it. The $1.5 million cap hit is most attractive. He's top 2 in the league or top 3, whatever it is, in hits. And, he's got goal scoring ability. He's got finish. So that's very attractive to a lot of teams. And now that the price has shifted or reverted down a little bit, that should get the ball rolling on that front. But obviously, it takes 2 to tango. So we'll see what teams kind of step up here. You mentioned Conor Garland. The Canucks' preference, it's all semantics with wording and verbiage. They are comfortable holding on to him. They don't want to move him per se, but they're not against listening. And they're not against listening on a lot of guys. But, this isn't necessarily a make me an offer I can't refuse type of deal. It might be just below that, but, pique my interest a little bit, and then we can have those discussions. So he is in play from that perspective. They're not trying to get rid of him, is probably the best way to put it, but he is available in a sense that they're willing to listen on him. His no trade kicks in July 1, and then with his full extension. So they're listening there. They're listening on Jake DeBrusk. They're listening on Elias Pettersson. Pretty much everybody in this group is more or less available outside of some guy. Philip Hronek is not getting traded. He has no interest in waiving his no movement or no trade clause. Same with Tyler Myers. He's not going to ease up on that. He's got some family-related issues as well in Vancouver, and the Canucks are not going to move him. So those are a couple guys you can take off. But in terms of other players, especially up front, they're willing to listen on pretty much everyone. Brock Besser is not going to waive his no move, so he's off the table as well. But some of the other guys, like Jake DeBrusk, who has that full no trade protection, I think there's a willingness for him to ease up on that and consider his options.
Let me throw you one from our YouTube chat. Mechanicsville dropped in, #AskDFO. Dave, any rumors on Dougie Hamilton or the New Jersey Devils? I know you guys had a story up at the fourth period about Hamilton, the Leafs, but what's the latest on Dougie Hamilton and what the Devils are trying to do to save their season?
Yeah, well, so the conversations continue with New Jersey. They're trying to make this happen. They're going to have to retain on that contract or take back money, significant money. This isn't a scenario where New Jersey is going to free themselves up of the full $9 million, but they're trying to see how much cap space they can create and how can they make a deal that benefits them, because they just don't want to get rid of Dougie Hamilton. This isn't a scenario where this guy's complete junk and he's having a bad season, but, they just don't want to deal with him anymore. There's still value in this player. He's still a second pair, top 4 type of, right D kind of guy. And there's value there. Now, obviously, down season and the $9 million cap hit affects it. Plus the fact that he's got I think it's $7.4 million bonus being paid July 1. Then it's $1 million for the rest of the season. And then the last year of his contract is just straight salary. I think it's just over 5.6, something like that. So the overall money does drop, but they want to make stuff happen here in terms of freeing up a little bit of cap space and also making a move that makes sense for them. Now, Toronto has poked around. Carolina has poked around a little bit. I think Utah has a couple other teams as well, kind of part of this mix still. I don't see a pathway for Toronto because I don't think financially they can make it work, even if they eat the Devils eat half, which I don't think they want to do. I think they're willing to eat a little bit. I just don't see a scenario where that's a fit for Toronto. Now, Toronto is actively looking for a right shot D, and that's the priority right now. There was some talk of them also looking, and I think if somebody falls into their lap for within their top 6, they'd go for it. But the priority for Toronto right now is trying to bring in a right shot defenseman. But I just don't see Dougie Hamilton being realistic right now, unless we're talking about a much larger trade. But I don't get the sense at the moment. Utah's a curious one for me. They're not afraid to take some swings here. They're not afraid to spend money. And they've been looking for somebody of his ilk to bring in to Salt Lake City. But again, it's got to work financially.
Dave, as always, man, appreciate your time. Thanks for popping on, and we'll do it again next week.
Can't wait, boys. See ya.
Hey, hockey fans, if you enjoyed that video, then make sure you hit the subscribe button right here on the Daily Faceoff YouTube. We have you covered for everything you need. Exclusive interviews on The Sheet with Jeff Merrick, all the latest hockey news on Daily Faceoff Live, and you can always get your morning started with Johnny Lazarus and Colby Cohn on Morning Cup of Hockey. Don't miss a minute. Hit that subscribe button.